Today is another pedal board build video where I'll be taking my current Cortex board, which is oversized, I'm not using half the space, and downsizing it to a Metro 16 pedal train where we'll just be using the Quad Cortex and the expression pedal, and removing the tuner and the freakout, which I'm not using as much as I thought I would, so I'm going to downsize and really focusing on portability for this Quad Cortex rig. So in this video you're going to see some unboxing, you're going to see me dismantle everything, put everything onto the new board, and as a bonus I'll also be sharing some of the sounds from my current live 2025 preset, which I'll also share in the links below. And if you're not subscribed already, please do below, as well as like the video, it really helps grow the channel. But without further ado, let's jump into some unboxing and getting everything set up. What I'm doing, unlike my previous board, is I'm actually using something called 3M Dual Lock, which looks like this. So it's really strong Velcro, which is unlike normal Velcro. So the difference with this stuff is that you don't need much, and it's a lot stronger, and it's going to be way more secure for heavier pedals and multi-effects units like the Quad Cortex. So it should be much more roadworthy. So let's start taking everything off that board and then removing the Velcro from the existing pedals, and then getting some of the dual lock on there. And then after that, we can start thinking about actually the wiring for this board. So we're going to repurpose this DC7 from Chocks and the Crux onto the new board. It's maybe a little bit overkill because we're not actually needing any of the additional power outlets from this, but it's way more rugged than the native one from Neural DSP, which I'm not a big fan of. So we're going to take this onto the new board, and yeah, we'll disconnect that now and get that transferred over. Okay, a quick pause, but I'm just trying to work out where the best place to put the two power units, because we need enough space on this side to be able to accommodate the power cable to go in. At the same time, because of the nature of the board, we can't mount this unit on the other side because the cable hits this lip right here. So what I might end up doing potentially is actually mounting it on the side here. That might be one option. That might be the best option, in fact. And so we can then just work out the best way to place the cable. But I'm going to have a little play around with it. I'm going to actually plug in the power cable on this side so we can see exactly what's required in terms of cable length there that we need to play with. And then, yeah, we'll figure it out that way. Okay, so I'm happy with this configuration now. I think these cables are secure and safe here. I don't think it's going to be an issue at all. We don't have to tie them down because it's a very small, rugged cable anyway. So you can see here it's really clean underneath. We'll be able to run this power directly to the Quad Cortex. The expression pedal doesn't need any power, so you don't have to worry about any of that sort of power cable management. So yeah, I think the next step is to get the Quad Cortex with the 3M dual lock, the same with the expression pedal, get them mounted on the top, and then connect everything up. Okay, so I've installed two of the cable tie bases there, as you can see. Let me just hold up to the camera so you can see it a bit more easily. So this is just a bit of nicer aesthetics. To be honest, the cable probably wasn't in the way that much, but it's good to fasten it down so it doesn't come loose or interrupt with any of the other cables. Okay, so just at this point, I'll check that the power cable actually fits in the power supply and doesn't hit any of the cables, which it clears no problem at all. So yeah, everything looks good in terms of the power. So let's, turn it back on its front and then see how it looks. And everything is looking really good, clean. It's obviously a very small board, so there's no cables that you're going to see on the top anyway. But everything looks good. The back, I've put an expression pedal, a TRS cable, and yeah, everything looks really neat and tidy. The only note is that obviously the expression cable is covering the USB in, so when I do want to connect it to the computer, all I have to do is just move this up a bit, and then I can access it there, and then just lower it down if I'm playing live and I don't need access to that USB. So not an issue at all there. Let me plug it into the computer, and then we can listen to some sounds from the preset and double check that everything's working as intended. Okay, so I plugged the core Cortex in, everything powers up, everything looks good and is working. So I've opened Cortex Control, and I'm going to quickly take you through what my 2025 live preset is. Just to note that the way I've set it up is 2 lanes going out from the out 1 and the out 3. Now what they are specific lanes to go to front of house, which includes the cabinet simulation, and one without the cab IR, which goes into a power amp, which I use, which goes into a real guitar cabinet. I use that for on-stage volume because I really like the push of air and the feeling of a real cabinet on stage, but all the benefits of using the quad Cortex remain going to front of house with the cab IR. So I'll quickly run through all the different components on this preset, and then I'll jump through the different scenes, playing some of the sounds so you can hear what they all sound like. So first up, we have the pitch wham effect. So I use this with the expression pedal, and I don't really use wah that much, I found, so I really like using the wham. It makes me really creative trying to come up with riff ideas. So I really like this one. Of course, in your preset, you may want to change this with a wah pedal or something else like a volume as well. Then moving on, we have the compressor, the VCA Comp Mono. We use the Green 808 for some boosting. Then we also have my own capture, in fact, of the Protein Blue. So this is the brand amplification Protein pedal, and this is the blue side capture, which is a lower gain. I find it really adds some nice compression and just a really nice breakup to the sound. So I use this for the kind of edge of breakup tone. Then we have the stock phaser modulation in the quad Cortex. And then for this preset, I have used all of the channels from John Petrucci's 2C. I think it's the 2C Plus. I love this amp. I think it sounds awesome for my type of playing, which is more rock and metal for this particular preset. It just really cuts through the mix, and I found some of the other amplifiers in the quad Cortex, I've struggled to keep up with the other guitarist who doesn't play digital, and so I found this really does keep up with people using a valve amp, so I really, really like this amplifier. And this is the clean one, and we have right here the channel 2, which I use for the high gain tones, and then jumping to the third row, we've got the channel 3, which I use for the lead tones. Okay, so next in line, we have a Parametric 8 EQ, which is set up as so. Again, if you download the preset, you can get all the settings yourself, so I won't run through them now. Then we have the modulation Chorus 229T. We have a mono digital delay. We have a stereo digital delay. Then we have the Mind Hall reverb, which is stock in the quad Cortex. And then at this point, this is where we split the 2 lanes. So if we continue going, we have an EQ specific for the power amp and cab and the room I'll be using this live in. So this might change depending on the room I'm using. If there's particular frequencies which are not really working in that environment, I can tweak it at this stage without affecting front of house. And if you notice, I've also got the output at minus 3.5 decibels. I've already got the amps actually at quite a low volume. So in the next lane, we actually boost the output back for front of house. But I found that I was getting a lot of clipping with the Seymour Duncan power stage. So this was the only way that I could keep that under control. And when I boost the solo, which is the loudest I'll be playing, it's still within the acceptable limits of the power stage. So the fourth lane, we've got the 4112 CA stand oversized AV30 mono, which is a stock IR in the quad Cortex. Then we have an EQ at the end as well. And if you look at the output, we've actually boosted this back 10 decibels. So this is so that it gets enough signal for front of house. And I found this typically is around minus 12 dB, which I find quite a good output level. Gives you lots of room to play with. You don't have to worry about clipping. I think it sounds really good. I don't see any loss in clarity from the sound by having it at this volume. So a quick note before I play some sounds and then wrap up the video. As you can see in lane 2, we've actually got an in-2 and an out-2, which is completely separate from the guitar. So I've actually got vocals set up in this preset as well. And what I've got set up here is some utility gain, which I haven't actually used, but if you need to boost to the front of house, I can just enable it here. Then we've got a parametric 3 just to boost some of the highs and reduce some of the lows of the vocals, just so you cut through the mix and you remove all that boominess from the voice, which often happens. Then we've got an opto-comp compressor with these settings just to lift up the sound and even out the quiet and the louder parts of the vocals. And then we have some simple delay as well, just a really light mix, just to add some body to the tone and gives me a bit more confidence in singing, to be honest. A little bit of delay in the sound. So what I'll do now is I'll just toggle through some of the various scenes that you can see, play some of the sounds, noodle around, and we'll wrap up the video after that. Apologies for the mindless noodling, but I hope you got a good idea of the different sounds that are possible with this preset. And if you'd like to download it, as I said, links down below. Thank you for watching this video, and if you did enjoy this and found it useful, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you in the next one.